Hey everybody, it's Saitama Videos. I want to start off by saying if there's music playing in the background. So any music or anything playing in the background, I do not own any rights. I want to just make sure I have that clear because it's YouTube. I'm here with 3 helpful tips. It may be 5, but I can definitely promise you 3 helpful tips with your locks. If you identify as calling them locks or dreadlocks, if you're starting locks, if you've had them for a long period of time, if you just want to know some things, I can give you some helpful tips. So today I want to start by saying with locks, you have to be patient. If you already have locks, you already know that they're not going to grow, they're not going to lock overnight. It takes a long period of time. You got to have patience if you have locks, especially if you're starting. A lot of people think if they get locks and they start, my hair is going to be full, it's going to look like I have locks. No, you can make them look like you have locks, but they're not going to be fully ready. Excuse me, I'm sorry. They're not going to be fully ready until about a year or so into it, depending on your hair texture. I have about 4B, 4A hair, and it took me 4 years for the hair to fully lock, my hair to fully lock, and it's a little bit past my shoulders, and I have my hair colored a purple fuchsia color, and then so are my bangs. However, my bangs are in twisties. They're not locked. I took them down. Also, that's another tip that I can say with locks. Myth busting. If you don't know now you know that with locks you can take them out. Some locks, if they're been in for a really long time, or if they have a lot of buildup, like if you don't fully clean out your locks like you're supposed to, like the apple cider vinegar soak or whatever, your hair may not be able to be combed out well. But if you're taking good care of them and you've had your hair for a long period of time or a short period of time, you can comb your locks out. I know people who just cut their hair off and just start back. I had locks, I cut it off and started from zero. If you still want your long hair but you don't want your locks, you just have to take the time, comb it out. I use a toothpick when I use mine because I didn't know that you can use a brand new lice picking comb, and which is a very, very thin comb, or depending on how many teeth it has, very thin comb that's about the size of a locking crochet needles, and you can just comb it out. It just takes patience and comb it out. I had my locks in for my bangs, I want to say about a year and a half, and then the rest of my hair has been in for 4 years, going on 5 years. I always adjust my bangs or whatever, just depending on my mood or what I want. And then I'm just thinking about just changing them altogether. But my bangs are in twists, if I didn't say that. Another tip that I have about your locks is always wrap your hair up when you're asleep, when you're laying down, if you're just on the couch. Some people feel if they just have locks, they can just, chill, do whatever. It's not, I'm going to say this correctly. It's not so, but you can get away with it. I'm saying it's not the fact that you can not wrap your hair up, but if you don't want to wrap your hair up, you can. So what I'm saying is, I suggest wrapping your hair because your hair can break, it can get frizzy, your hair can get loose, the lock can start growing, or if it's still in the locking stage, not lock fully, and then you'll have the gaps, you'll have bumps. I want to find one. But what I'm saying is there are some people who don't wrap their hair up and their locks still remain intact, but I don't know what they do. But with my hair, I know for a fact if I don't wrap my hair up, my locks are going to break. They're going to get really thin over time. You may not notice it right now or in the moment, but you'll notice it over time. So, also, I've had my hair shaved on the sides and on the back, so my perimeter locks are really short. Not short, thin. So I've had my hair, and that's another thing. If you cut your hair on the sides and anywhere that's close to your locks, be careful with who you get to cut your hair, because if they don't know what they're doing, they're going to cut your lock and it's going to start thinning out. So I have perimeter locks, and if you can see this one, it's pretty thick and healthy. It has a little bump right here. Trying to block the light. However, this one has brakes, so it's very skinny. So the way my hair has been growing, whoever's been cutting my hair, I'm not going to say because I do go to hair school, so we all are practicing to perfect our profession. So it's thin, but then I have a gap right here, and it's really thin there. And then the healthy part of my lock, when I very first started, before I started really cutting my hair, is really thick. And there's a little unevenness right there. And then, yeah, so you can see my lock is really thinning out. And that's not good for my hair. So I'm growing my hair out. Sorry, this night light does not want to participate. I'm actually in my car outside right now, so I'll try to block that. I'm growing my hair out in the front area, so when I have my hair down, it doesn't really look like a gap because you can see the gap. So there's a lot of perimeter locks. It's not braids, locks. You can see these look pretty good. Yeah, there's only a few that are thinning out. Yeah, honestly, I think that's the only one. The other ones are pretty thick. Yeah, they look pretty good. And then I have to touch up my hair because if you can see, it's fading. And then a lot of people ask me if my hair is real. Do you have real hair or your hair is extensions? My hair is real. However, you can get extensions. You can get real hair extensions, or you can get synthetic hair extensions. I always suggest I always suggest real hair, no synthetic hair, because synthetic hair doesn't, depending on your hair texture, it doesn't link with your hair or attach to your hair properly, and it can break off, it can fall off. I had a person where when I first started to do extension locks, I put a synthetic hair on his head and his locks kept falling off. Like his hair wouldn't wrap around the synthetic hair and it just kept falling off, and I had to kept putting them back in. So just be careful when you get synthetic hair. One, just make sure that you know that there's going to be a risk that your hair is going to fall out. Not fall out, but the synthetic extension is going to come out. And then over real hair, it's most likely that your hair will attach to it. Another thing with extensions, be careful who you buy from. You don't know if they've had lice. You don't know if they've had scalp disease or whatever. Some people say, oh yeah, it's 100%, nothing's wrong with it. But you just never know. I suggest, if you want extensions and you really want to be careful who you're getting it from, get it from somebody you know. And sometimes you can just pay for somebody to grow their hair out and then just take extension from them. Another thing, when they grow their hair out, one, it does not need to be in locks for it to be an extension for your lock. Two, when they grow their hair out, it can be about, I would say 5 inches or longer, just like a good chunk, because the smaller it is, the harder it is to crochet into a lock. So I'd say about like a good chunk, maybe about as long as your index finger from this line of index finger to the very tip, that long or longer, if they're growing their hair out, just so it'll be easier to attach into an extension. I'm trying to think of anything else for extensions. Another thing with extensions, just make sure when you get your hair done, and this is one of the other tips I had, make sure you're getting your hair done by somebody who knows what they're doing. You can always get your hair done by a beginner, but it would be good to have them practice, one, on synthetic hair, two, on not your head. You can get a doll head, you can get fake hair, you can just practice on a synthetic strand, just so they know how to lock the hair, how to wrap it. And most people, when they wrap or retwist locks, it's to the right. You're turning it to the right. I'm left-handed, so I always get mixed up when I'm doing my own locks. I'm like, oh wait, I just did mine to the left. And then when you're doing your own locks, just make sure how you wrap it, because if you get somebody else to wrap it or retwist it, just make sure they know that how you're twisting it, or just try to explain to them how you retwist it, because then if your locks are fresh or not fully locked and they retwist it the opposite way, it may unravel later, even if they do wrap it tight. And then another tip that I have, my third tip, is if you get your locks done by somebody, try to stick to one loctician, one hairstylist, because everybody has their own technique, and there are some people who have the same technique, similar techniques, been taught by the same person. However, you never know how the other person is going to treat your hair. So just do your research on your hairstylist slash loctician, and just make sure you want that person to keep doing your hair. I do my own locks. However, I don't retwist my hair as often as other people do. I retwist my hair about once a month, maybe twice a month, and I always have frizzy hair, or my locks are really frizzy down here, and that's because I didn't wrap my hair up. And if I did wrap my hair up, I wasn't wrapping my hair in a satin cap. That's a fourth tip. Or how many tips you want to count? I'm not keeping count anymore. I'm just trying to give tips out. So another thing, I know that satin caps or silk caps are good with flyaways or frizzy hair, loose hairs. It's good because it won't really rub against your hair like other cloths do. They will it will just sit on your hair. Or if it does rub, the fibers won't grab your hair. Some people don't understand that whatever you're putting on your head, it may grab at your fibers or get stuck at the fibers. Polyester is one fiber that will really get stuck in your hair. I don't know about cotton. It just depends on your hair type. And then whatever hair texture that you have, whatever hair type, whether it be a 1A to a 4C, 4D, you can get locks. It just depends on if your loctician knows what they're doing, and it depends on how long your hair is, and if you have patience for the locks. The straighter the hair, the harder it is to lock, and the longer it is to lock. And that's because the locks or dreadlocks are for people and originate with people who have really curly hair, because our hair binds together and sometimes it gets stuck together. So, just do your research. Social media is the internet. Social media is popular nowadays, so just make sure you do your research, especially if you really want that style. If you really want locks, if you really like the way it looks, because some people, they start off with just one lock. They're like, all right, let me just feel this. Let me just see how it fits, how my body feels about it. And then he may have a short cut, a taper, whatever. A lot of people, they get ducktails or duckbills, whatever it's called, in the back, and sometimes they lock it out or lock it up. So just find whatever fits you. And then another thing, let me see. I want to try to give a one more tip. One more tip. Be careful when it comes to coloring your hair. You can color your hair because it is hair. However, because your hair is in locks and you get them retwisted, and if you get them crocheted especially, your hair can break off. So some people don't know that your hair can break off also if you're getting locks and if your hair is already locked, depending on if you're retwisting it correctly, if it breaks off, whatever. And there are some people who have sister locks, skinny locks. Locks come in all shapes and sizes. Just make sure you take care of your hair, especially if you're coloring it. You need to make sure your hair is always moisturized. You need to make sure you're wrapping your hair up. Don't wash it as often. A lot of people, if you have your hair locked already, you know that you don't have to wash your hair as often as some people say. Some people say wash your hair every day. Some people wash your hair every so-and-so. It's whatever you want. I wash my hair once every 2 weeks just because I like the way my hair has been growing lately. I don't wash my hair too much, especially because it's colored. You wash your hair too much, and if you're a person of color and your hair is colored, your hair can fall out. So just be careful with what you're doing with your hair. Do your research. Ask the loctician or the hairstylist what they're doing with your hair before they do it. Make sure that they're clear. Have it verbal consent, visual consent, and then just be careful who you meet and take care of your locks. That's what I have. I know I gave out more than 3, so just take those tips and run with it. Leave a comment below if you agree or disagree. I want to hear what you have to say about the tips or the suggestions or the comments that I made about what I said. Share this video if you like it. Subscribe if you can. Subscribe if you want to. I don't post a lot of videos that I should, but hey, I'm trying. So have a good day. Stay solid.